Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Hola.
So, thank you guys for joining the three of us on another fantastic episode of our show, Strange Bedfellows. I'm not sure where the logo is going to be on this one, but
All I see is SpongeBob.
yeah, that works. It's a weight thing, isn't it? Because I retain a lot of water.
Yeah,
That's a fat
fine.
joke. That was an indirect fat joke. It's fine. So today we're going to talk about some fun stuff with you guys. I know a lot of you guys are familiar with the term UFO. And some of you guys are UAP, whatever you want to do with that. But we're going to talk a little bit about UFOs, some of the reporting that's gone on. See, this is why we have the relationship we have, guys. I don't do intros very often, and I have to look at the camera, and then I see two purple donkey assholes making faces. Then
That's
while I'm trying
the
to do
meanest
the
thing
intro.
anyone's ever said to me.
Purple donkey assholes?
Yes.
That's the meanest?
This is sweetest.
Oh, I thought you said meanest. I was like, wow. I've really got to step up my shit.
I was gonna say you do fine. You did just fine.
You just melted my
Your
heart.
insults. Yeah, you just
Oh goodness.
warm
Yeah.
and fuzzies.
We have a love no one will ever understand.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the UFOs or what?
UAP.
UAPs. We should just make a face every time someone says that because I hate it. Like I know you
Make
guys
it like
do
the
too.
word of the day, like Pee Wee Herman.
UAP sounds like a community college in the South. Like it's like, where did you go to college? Well, I got my associates at UAP. Where's that? You know where Mississippi and Alabama meet? Yeah. All right. Deeper south than that.
Sounds about
And I'm
right.
Southern. But yeah, so UFOs and disclosure, which is a big part of that. And you know, a lot of us have our feelings on UFOs, aliens, whatnot, but today we just wanted to bring you guys some actual evidence and talk about that more than first person accounts and third person stories and things like that. And we happen to have a gentleman here who has been in the armed forces for quite some time.
What?
And I thought maybe he could tell you guys a little bit about what has happened in the last year as far as disclosure and how far back some of that goes. So, Mike, what you got?
Well, info was released in June 2021, and there was 144 reviews of reports made by, like, say, military aviators that I guess spanned from 2004 to 2021. But
I wonder why that just went back to 04.
I don't know why. Okay, well, I will say, being part of the DoD and Army, is obviously a lot of reports are not going to be reported. So this is coming from the government itself saying this is how many reports we have. I guarantee there is more reports than that. So, especially when it gets to a certain point and they're like, hey, we don't need to disclose that.
Maybe they only reported on UFOs and not MNOPs.
I doubt there was only 144 from 2004 to 2021.
17 years, 144.
I seriously doubt it too.
144. I seriously doubt it.
That's less than 10 a year.
Yeah. So, and one of those reports, the DoD said that one of them was a deflated balloon. We might have heard that kind of story in 1947 with the Army Air Force in Roswell, but you know,
is that a weather balloon?
Familiar.
Yeah, sounds a little.
So we
familiar.
got weather balloon and deflated balloons are the only explanations we have for these.
Only explanation. Only
seems legit.
But they did make a statement, and I'll read that statement. There is currently no evidence that any of the objects are related to are related to a secret U.S. weapons program or developed by foreign adversaries. The clustering of sightings near U.S. military bases may just be the result of several kinds of collection bias. Most of the UAP probably were physical objects, since most were detected in multiple ways, including via radar, infrared, electro-optical, weapon seekers, and visual observation. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
So they immediately went to, this isn't us testing weapons
Yeah. Like
right off the bat.
we're not testing anything, or we don't have that. Or there was
Isn't that
some
weird that that's the
testing.
first thing that they said though?
I find it weird how it's not
Like we saw a UFO. Oh, we're not testing weapons.
yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They divert answering the question.
Anyway, Michael, I'm sorry.
So
Weapons testing.
yeah, weapons testing. It's so funny to me how how quickly they will give that type of response, rather than saying, there was an object, we are looking at said object, or we can't find it on our systems, so we will continue to monitor. I mean, there's something that they could say that would maybe alleviate some of the people who are witnessing these things and being like, okay, well, the government's on it. They're looking.
We're aware of it. It's not ours.
Yeah,
We're going to address it.
But instead,
Right.
they cause like these little mini panics, I would say, with people who either think the government is hiding something, and or maybe they're losing their minds, and a mixture of both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's, I've been around the military long enough to know that there are reports that don't get reported, and so
Not worth the paperwork type of thing.
yeah. But thankfully, we have previous military personnel that leave the service and they become an open book, and they start describing things that they have seen, which, the videos that were released in the press first from these witnesses, and then later on verified by the United States Navy, who, by the way, created a sub-organization to monitor UFOs, UAPs.
Really?
We'll just say UFO.
I was waiting for your faces to turn, but
We'll just say UFO.
but they created
I bit down on that one.
Yeah, you're a little late.
Yeah,
but they created a sub-organization that now their primary job as an organization within the Navy is to look and monitor the skies and report all UFOs, UAPs. So
We're just going to say UFOs, just so everyone knows.
Yes.
UAPs. It sounds like you have an infection in your bladder. I've changed my mind on it. It's not a Southern community college. It's an infection in your bladder.
It could be both.
Which could be the same thing. Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, talking about some of I know a lot of the videos that came out in the last couple of years that sort of kickstarted the DoD to kind of look into it and address it came from leaked DoD files, but they were released by civilians. I know there's one in particular, was Tom DeLonge, right?
Yep.
Blink 182.
He released, I think, one or two. And then there was another guy who was actually on the Navy ship as a radar, I don't know what his job title was, radar technician or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
it was the two of them together that did it?
Maybe not at the same time, but around the same time. Yeah.
Okay. I know there have been a lot of civilians, like we just talked about, handing over stuff. Do we have are there anyone really leading like the charge as far as the research and investigation and trying to find evidence on the civilian side, like outside of DoD or any kind of special forces that you know about?
Yes, there are. And one I actually got to meet when I went to the Para-Unity Convention in Duluth, Minnesota earlier this year.
Yeah.
Chuck Zukowski, he was with Heather Taddy on Alien Highway.
Yeah.
And I know there was at least one other show he had done. I had never seen their show before. And so I wasn't familiar with it, which I felt like kind of a jerk. But Chuck was a really nice dude. And it just happened that one of the nights there, we were at the same dinner table and got to talking about things. And his knowledge is insane in his research and everything.
I guess he have experience, and I mean, I'm sure he goes out. Does he try to find evidence on his own as well as research claims of other people? Is that kind of how his?
Yeah, this is on his own because he has a regular job. Like,
Yeah.
it's some sort of, I want to say it's like he works with making computer chips or something. Does that sound familiar, Mike, at all?
That does kind of sound familiar. Yeah.
He
I'm not
works
sure.
something
What?
with computers, but it's a job that allows him that whenever someone calls him up, and this started all with people reporting animal mutilations when he was, let's see, I will be looking at my notes so people know because I have brain fog from fibromyalgia. So there's no way I'd remember all the details. So
Me and Mike have it from age. It's fine.
so during
You young youth.
if I look down, just that's so if everybody knows it's gonna be a thing, a regular thing. But yeah, he was a reserve sheriff's deputy with the El Paso Sheriff's Office. And what had happened, they would get calls on cattle mutilations from ranchers out there. And in 2011, he actually was fired from his job because he would not agree with the conclusion to the investigation, which said that it was basically animals that had done it. Like, let's
So
see.
they called it an animal attack as opposed to anything.
Right.
Fight that he's got in or something.
Fired as a result of conducting paranormal and UFO investigations into animal mutilations and refusing to refrain from conducting paranormal and UFO investigations, which could be viewed as a conflict of interest. And that's what his termination letter said. And Chuck said, if it's not human, it's something else. When he was asked about what he was disagreeing with the sheriff's department. And he said the local law enforcement really isn't trained to look into something like this. And this, at the time, the animal mutilation incident involved a horse, a baffling case. And the official investigation concluded that predators were at fault, so other animals and stuff. And
Interesting.
Chuck pointed out when he was interviewed back then that most officers only have like a week maybe of training involving like animal deaths. And he, between all the hours he's had in the field and hours working with veterinarians out of the University of Colorado State University, that he learned how to distinguish predator activity from other types of wounds. So in this case, he could not see that it was another animal, and he couldn't see how it could have been caused by a human being. And so because he wasn't willing to back off on his thoughts with that, they fired him. And that's what kicked off that's what he does in his free time, and he's turned it into a partial career, at least, He still has his day job and everything, but he's still the one that people call when it comes to aliens. He's known as the Ghostbuster for aliens, which is pretty cool. But he's been doing this for 30 plus years. And
Wow.
even though he has never actually seen an extraterrestrial, he said, "I've not seen alien life, but I have seen balls of light. I've actually seen a craft in the sky. Something was out there that's communicating. Something was coming down." So he's seen, there's enough that makes him want to keep finding out. And I mean, obviously, word spread through the ranchers, that community, that he was someone that they could call and legitimately talk to and be like, they had concerns about this, and he wouldn't laugh at them or whatever. They could talk.
They knew he'd
with
take them
him.
seriously.
Right. And he would, and the job that he has allows him that whenever someone calls about an incident, that he's able to travel there and still do his day job, sort of thing. So and Chuck's also done, besides like the shows that he's been a part of on TV, and he's been a guest on different series on like sci-fi travel and stuff. He's done a video series on his own, dealing with everything from the mutilation cases to ghosts to like Sasquatch activity. And he says one sort of investigation leads to another. Before you know it, you're branching out. And that's absolutely true. I think we've all agree with that statement, especially when it comes to theories of things and like with aliens. Like, we won't get into that, but down the road, it's like people they're like, are they interdimensional? Are they whatever? And so yeah, it's easy to branch out into other areas pretty quickly. And then in 2016, there was best-selling author Ben Mesrick wrote a book about Chuck's adventures and his theory about UFO activity that's concentrated around the 37th parallel of the equator. And when I was reading this, I'm like, this is where the show came from, the Alien Highway. So, because he said, we have a paranormal highway going across the United States. From my research and investigations, the 37th parallel appears to be the main corridor of UFOs traveling across the U.S. And he noted that Roswell, Area 51, and other reported UFO sightings are near that latitude. So I believe that's where the show came from.
Probably.
And I've seen little interviews with him, and he did show the map of sightings that had been reported to him and that he had looked at. And on the map, it was like a red dotted line across the country.
Oh, wow. Following that highway.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty rad.
I wonder if there's any kind of ley line. Like,
yeah, that would be
intersecting with
interesting
that.
to ask him. And I also came across, when the whole Storm Area 51 came out, his thoughts on that, because he has talked with residents who live on civilian land near that base, and so he's been able to look at the base from civilian land and watch, like when the security teams, when their shifts change, and he's like, all of a sudden there are trucks out of nowhere and there are people scrambling. He's like, all of a sudden there's this activity, and he's come into contact with them himself, and he's like, when people said on Facebook or on social media, like, they can't catch us all kind of thing, like someone's got to get through or whatever, he's like, they will handle it. They will handle it. They are more than capable. To try to trust him and don't do something to get yourself hurt, kind of thing. So yeah, I think he's a good source to go to, and I definitely want to check out more of his show after reading this bit and everything. But yeah, I wish I could just tape record conversations that I've had with people, because he had some pretty cool stories, just of his experience and his knowledge from over the years of doing all of the work that he's done.
Okay, now there was another guy that you had spoken to me about previously. I forgot his name. It was a doctor.
Oh, Dr. Stephen Greer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told you about him. He has some amazing documentaries out that I have watched, and I personally feel everyone should see them. I will say I am a believer, first of all, for people out there. That's just me personally, but I think when you consider the universe and just knowing our galaxy and how many galaxies we can see from here, and everything that's beyond that, to state that we're the only intelligent life form in the universe is like the most narcissistic human concept ever.
But that's humanity too, though. That's
exactly.
That's
what's
we think we're
being
special.
human is ego. Yeah.
God made the whole universe for just no.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
But yeah, he's an American ufologist, and he founded the Center for Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence in 1990 to create a diplomatic and research-based initiative to contact extraterrestrial civilizations. And so he started that in 1990 with that in mind. It is more recently something that is actually going on, which I will get
SETI
to.
guy?
SETI?
Yeah.
That could
be
be
the SETI guy.
I want to say that's the abbreviation for one of these things.
Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, SETI, where they have all the satellites.
Okay, yeah, they did switch the abbreviations at some point, and the website for them is actually ipsgeneva.com. But yes, that is him.
So that's him.
Right.
Okay, I knew he sounded familiar. I only say that because there was something right around the time online gaming became huge.
Mm-hmm.
There were certain things you could do with your PlayStation.
Right.
I had a PS2 or a PS3, and you could actually download an app that would allow your machine to basically analyze data from SETI for them. Wow. So they had more like computation power. And I did that for about a year. So when you started saying that, it kind of clicked. So I wanted to double check. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So he started that in 1990. And I mean, now, like you were talking about with the tech then, now it's an app that you can download. And I have the app and stuff. I'll get to that in a bit. Let's see. So he started that, and then in 1995 he founded the Disclosure Project, where the goal of which was to disclose the government's alleged knowledge of UFOs, extraterrestrial intelligence, and advanced energy and propulsion systems. So that goes into the government and the disclosure stuff that we've been thinking about. That's a big part of his work. And I've seen a stupid number of interviews from people who are considered whistleblowers and stuff. A lot of them, most of them being military. Very fascinating stories. And some of them that I've watched, I absolutely 100% believe them. It's the empath thing. There's one in particular that I'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, it was founded in an effort to grant amnesty to government whistleblowers willing to violate their security oaths by sharing insider knowledge about UFOs, because that's the main reason why most don't come forward.
Because they just being blunt, they disappear.
Right. A lot of the cases that I've heard, a way that they kind of handle things is car accidents is a very common one. And it's not always just the whistleblowers themselves, it's family members as well. Whatever information they have is big enough to the government or whomever,
That's crazy.
they'll go after family and stuff too. If they
Can you imagine a
want you to
secret,
stop.
like trying to keep that from someone so much that you would take away their life?
Yeah,
Like, that's crazy to me.
it is. Yeah.
It really is. It's like when so many people believe that there's at least a good possibility
Hmm.
that there's extraterrestrial life, it makes you kind of wonder if there's more to it. You know,
Oh
because
yeah.
it's like killing someone that has proof of the Loch Ness monster. If you want to group it into the same thing,
Right.
you know, it's like, oh, I've got a picture of Nessie. Oh, his car blew up. No,
Right.
no.
Yeah.
So it makes you kind of wonder about the UFO and alien life, like
Hmm.
what more there is
Yeah.
for this to be happening. You know.
Yeah. And actually, he does touch upon that a bit in one of his documentaries. There are three that are the most well known. So his three main documentaries. The first one in 2013 was called Sirius with an S. In 2017, Unacknowledged came out. I know more people saw that one because I kind of heard people in the paranormal
I
community
didn't know that was
discussing
him.
it more.
Okay.
Um,
I'm
and
realizing I
then,
know more about these guys than
yeah.
yeah.
And the most recent one that came out in 2020 was Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. Um,
Saw that
and
one.
that I highly recommend for everyone to watch. And in that one, he touches upon how hard this journey's been for him, and he didn't go into detail, but he said he's lost a lot of friends, and he started to cry, and it was just kind of like, I need a break kind of thing. And I mean, you can probably see it in my face right now. Like, I'm already like just thinking about it. I could feel what he was feeling. There was a lot of loss there. And that's awful. But I have so much respect for people who keep pushing forward when they know it's important stuff. And because if we're not given the truth in a way that people can handle it, because that's one of the concerns with disclosure, is that if everything comes out at once, there's going to be like mass hysteria and people are just going to, like, all hell's going to break loose kind of thing. And that's obviously it's a concern. And so they're trying to do bits of disclosure at a time, and like in a different series I had seen, it was really interesting. It looked at Hollywood and how they're part of disclosure. And just like an example is, however many years ago, there were movies where people were talking on phones, small phones that they had in their hands.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, what? Like sci-fi, science
Very
fiction
same
stuff.
thing.
Right. And so like, and then down the road, we have those things. And it's like a way to prepare people, because it's like, oh, they've seen that before. Even though they're not making the connections, it's not as weird to them if they've sort of seen that. And speaking of disclosure and everything, there was a pretty groundbreaking event that happened in 2001. And Dr. Greer presided over it. It was the National Press Club disclosure event, which happened in May of 2001, which has been seen by close to 1 billion people now, which is amazing.
Has
And
it really?
awesome. Close to 1 billion people. Yes.
Billion?
Yes. Which is amazing. Amazing.
Wow.
And at that conference, he said, "This is the end of the childhood of the human race. It is time for us to become mature adults among the cosmic civilizations that are out there," which I thought was pretty incredible to be saying.
Where can people find it?
That I have been trying to find. I've looked up the event, and from the search that I had time to do, I had only found audio on a podcast that,
Like excerpts?
I don't know if it was excerpts. It said part 1, so I don't know
Oh.
if there's complete audio of the entire event or what exactly.
We
But
should find it
that-
before we.
That first
Everything.
little search I did, the podcast was called Paranormal Mysteries Podcast, and it was episode 162. That was part 1. But yeah, if people can, if they're interested, if they can try to find it, it would definitely be worth it. There were a lot of high up government types, especially military witnesses, who came forward. So, and their stories were very compelling. And
We've
one
had
of
a lot
which
of astronauts too, haven't we?
there's been astronauts, a lot of pilots, but yeah, there have been astronauts who have come forward as well. And even in that last documentary, they had footage where, because one concern with this app that he created, which is Contact of the Fifth Kind, the app that he created, if anybody out there is interested in trying to initiate contact, it's called CE5 Contact. I have it on my phone. There's a lot of resources on there. It walks you through everything to do and gives you the cautions of anything. Like, he wants to get the point across that there have been, from what I'm remembering, there have been over 5,000 individual groups worldwide who have done this, and there has not been one person harmed in any way. Because that's one of the big things, is fear, that people are afraid that aliens just want to kill us. And did you hear something?
Like a large knock?
Yeah. Like a deliberate knock.
From over here?
There it is again. That's your house?
It's not here.
It's not here.
Noise cancellation.
I
Is it-
can't hear it if you guys are hearing it.
It's hard.
And there very well could be with what I'm talking about.
I mean, Lindsay, it was like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
loud.
because
Twice.
I didn't hear shit.
If somebody's listening, knock again.
And actually,
What?
that would fit right into what Keith was going to
What?
talk about to end the show, about our experience after watching that documentary.
well, I just shit a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to use the bathroom after this.
I'm
Yeah.
not going to lie. Like, it takes a lot for me to get. Oh, you motherfucker.
I knew Mike was doing something. You just made him super paranoid. Like,
There we go again.
he puts the cat down. Doesn't like you laughing on the cat.
It did it again. It wasn't as loud, but it was an hour and 1. Okay. Ready.
Oh, it was really loud to you guys?
Yeah. There again.
Okay, crap. Sorry. That's our heat going on. That's the register. Like,
Son Son of a bitch.
Yeah, because you guys said a really loud knock, and
You
then
said
like,
you couldn't hear it.
well, I've been living with this since I was 16. It doesn't faze
How?
me, man.
That's terrifying.
Dr. Greer's just working really hard to get the fear component out of things, because from all the experiences that people have had, like using the app, or people who haven't talked to him about their encounters, there hasn't been anything violent. And actually, in that last documentary of the fifth kind, there's even a man who had hearing aids in both ears. He had severe hearing loss. He got his hearing back, and it was from an encounter with an ET being, some sort of being.
Wow.
He got his hearing back, which is pretty amazing. So yeah, the whole point of the app is to make peaceful contact and to get humanity part of the bigger picture in a peaceful way. And I think that's pretty rad.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Still don't know that I'm gonna be on that app while I'm laying in bed at night. Like, what you doing?
Well,
Aliens are. I mean,
me and a
what
couple
we-
friends are already. We're gonna be working on it. They say the average is 6 times trying. It walks you through it. There's meditations you do. There's tones you can play. It says the equipment you could use. It sets it all up for you. And I might have had contact before. I'm not positive. It was some sort of being that I was channeling. That's a whole other thing as well, but it wasn't scary. There was nothing scary about it. So
I just panicked because your heater's on.
Yeah.
Sell me on how this isn't going to freak me out.
well, when you've had other experiences and stuff that aren't scary with things, it's kind of like how the Newkirks approach things. I love how they approach things, to go into things not with fear but with curiosity. I think that's huge, so important.
Sure.
And I love that they work that way.
So yeah, talking about just the disclosure. I know one thing that happened when Lindsay, right around the time you and I started talking regularly, when we were kind of getting to know each other, I had you watch a set of documentaries.
Yep.
There were 3 of them. I'm not going to name anyone's name, just because this whole situation really kind of. How'd I handle it, Linz?
You flip the fuck out.
Yeah. So we'll say out of these documentaries,
We
at
can
first
say
you
the
think-
name of them, right?
Yeah, I just figured I wouldn't, just
Okay.
because that whole situation with disclosure kind of brought me into something I'm going to leave you guys with as we close the show down. But when Lindsay and I first started talking on a regular basis, it was before I'd met Mike. I knew who he was, but we weren't BFFs yet like we are now. But these documentaries, essentially it was paranormal investigators that shockingly had video evidence of a full-bodied apparition. And they went on tour, different cons and expos and stuff, showing the footage, and everyone gave them the same kind of feedback that that's not a ghost. That's an alien. Like, that doesn't look like a ghost. It looks like a gray. And at one of the conventions, when this had become a thing, he was approached by a man that you would consider Men in Black, but picture him like Southwest Men in Black. He was tattooed, black cowboy hat, black jeans, black boots,
Didn't you have like
covered in
snakeskin
tattoos.
something or other? Just like,
Mhm.
yeah.
Hands a pamphlet off to him and says, "Do what you want with it. Believe it or not. Disperse it if you want to, but you need to at least see it." So they
He gave
start to
him a
determine
box.
of
With-
just like footage, reports, things like that, all this information. And shortly after the two guys in this documentary started digging into that, weird shit started happening to them. Um, as far as like their computers being remote wiped and car alarms going off every night at the same time, regardless of where they parked, what the weather is, even to the point where one of them had men approach the house that one of them lived in, ask if their kids still went to the school they went to. He turned around terrified, got his phone from the table behind him, went to the door. They were gone. No car, nothing. And
Yeah,
his
he wanted to get a
driveway,
picture of him, didn't he?
yeah, he wanted to get a picture of him. His driveway is 20 feet and it is a clear quarter mile on each side on the road when you go up to the top of his driveway. And we're talking about 10 seconds. So, me and one of these guys had gotten, I'd say chummy. I'm not going to say he's my friend, but we've gotten chummy.
Your
You know?
acquaintances, you've talked and
Yeah.
stuff.
And we'd spoken a few times about some of the things that have been going on because it was just intriguing to me. And then one night, I had Lindsay watch the films with me, and we did one a night for about a week, just randomly
Mhm.
spaced.
And this first incident was maybe within 10 minutes of finishing the first film is when it happened. Yeah.
I get a message from, we'll just call him Bubba, that
Well,
says
first
his,
you went to look in the messenger because you said you guys had been talking and he had sent you a picture of the house across the
yes,
street.
yes. So I was trying to find a picture he'd sent me that was relevant to the second documentary that she'd watched.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't find him like anywhere in my messenger. And I was like, that's weird. Then maybe, was it 10, 15 minutes? I get a message from him that tells me his location. He said, same as always. Why? And I scroll up and a message came from my messenger that said, where are you located?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I told him, I was like, holy shit, dude, I didn't do this. I didn't send you that. He goes, yep, you're not the first person to say that to me either.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So my messenger that couldn't find him at all, any record of our conversation, sent him a message that said, where are you located?
And it's like that's so obvious because friends don't talk to each other that
No.
way. I mean, even acquaintances don't talk to each other that way.
He's in a
you know?
different country, but the dialect is not that different to
Right.
where you would say it like that in
Yeah.
any way.
Yeah.
So that happened. And then shortly after that, a week or less, I was at work and I had gotten on this, I rickrolled myself a lot, as in I listened to the song over and over with no shame. And I'd play it randomly at work too. Just one of the guys that sat next to me, it wasn't loud. It was just where he would hear it and it would throw him off. And I sent Lindsay a video of me listening to it in the car, like a Snapchat thing. I got a voicemail on my work phone the next day from an unknown number playing that song for 15 seconds.
That's what the voice message was that music.
That song.
And I was the only person that he sent that clip to of this song.
And the only other person that knew about it was the guy sitting next to me that I would do it to, like, to get him to, like, as a joke. You know, he'd be sitting there like, oh, no, then you'd hear, and he'd be like, you're stupid. You know that. That's the extent of it. It wasn't like tons of people knew about it.
Yeah.
And didn't post it anywhere. And it was a weird, I don't remember if it was like alphanumeric for the phone number or if it was way too short of a number. Like longer than an extension would be, an internal extension, but shorter than an actual phone number would be.
Right, because you said it was set up some way that to get to that voicemail, it would have had to come from inside your office or something. Didn't you say that?
Mm-mm. No, I said to
swear-
come from that short of a number. I thought it would have been internal, but it's too long for any extension that we have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I guess I can end it with telling you that freaked me out a lot. And just dig carefully, kids. That's the best thing I can say. We're all curious. We all want to know what's going on. But anytime you dig for any of the stuff that we talk about, make sure you know what you're doing and you've got someone at least with you that knows what you're doing. You got to be safe. Worst thing that can happen is you go off not knowing what you're doing by yourself. So
Yeah.
wherever you hunt, whatever you're looking for, just stay safe. And thank you again for watching us, coming to hang out with us. I've got my Lindsay and I've got my Mike as always,
Yep.
standing by, going strong. And we will talk to you guys soon. Thanks
Yep.
again.
Have a good one.